with all of us supporting each other and standing together. But unfortunately, the BJP has taken this also as an opportunity for politicking.
What you have brought here, what this government has brought here today, is not a women's reservation bill. It is a women's reservation rescheduling bill and should be renamed as such. Its agenda is delay. Its agenda is not reservation. The endless dithering over when there will be the next census, when there will be the next delimitation, will only ensure that the urgent need of reservation for women in elections to the parliament and to state legislatures will be indefinitely delayed yet again.
So in the reservation, which is dependent on two indeterminate dates, how are we going to get it? There is no dates only decided for census or for delimitation. So what is the date and the timeline for this?
Article 334 of the bill says the reservation shall come into effect only after delimitation has been undertaken. Delimitation will only be undertaken after the relevant figures for the next census have been published. The rotation of seats for women shall take effect after each subsequent exercise of delimitation. So what does this mean? In true BJP's Goebbelsian doublespeak style, it means we don't know if and actually when we will actually have 33% of women sitting in the Lok Sabha. Because number one, the date of the next census is entirely indeterminate. Because of this, number two, the date of the next delimitation exercise is therefore doubly indeterminate.
India is the only country which has not conducted the decadal census. And if delimitation is going to be based on population census, it will deprive and reduce the representation of the South Indian states. It will become like a sword hanging on our heads. There is a fear in the minds of the people that our voices will be undermined. There should be a clear clarification about this.
13 वर्षों से भारतीय स्त्रियां अपनी राजनीतिक जिम्मेदारी का इंतजार कर रही हैं और अब उन्हें कुछ वर्ष और इंतजार करने के लिए कहा जा रहा है। कितने वर्ष? 2 वर्ष, 4 वर्ष, 6 वर्ष, 8 वर्ष? क्या भारत की स्त्रियों के साथ बर्ताव उचित है?
Delimitation and census, they are in your hands. What were you doing for 9.5 years? What have you been doing for 9 years? You have only done lip service. You want to make tall claims. You want to think that every space is a rally. Every space has only political bhashans. You do not want to actually translate social justice embedded in the Constitution of India to the women of this country. Women need political empowerment.
There is one thing, in my view, that makes this bill incomplete. I would like to have seen OBC reservation included in this bill. I think it is very important that a large chunk of India's population, large chunk of India's women should have access to this reservation.
I see it as a political gimmick on the eve of the elections. But the electorate cannot be fooled anymore. If you are not implementing in 24, it will go against you. It's going to boomerang on the BJP.
This selective affirmation is an election stunt. This is a woman deception bill. This is a check bounce bill. This is an anti-OBC and Muslim women bill. This is a distraction bill. This is not an inclusive bill. This is an exclusive bill. And may I conclude by saying, sir, that the minorities, the Jain community, no woman MP has entered from Jain community. Can Amit Shah stand up and say, why is there a no Jain MP?
Minister for Women at that time, and right from the beginning I was involved, both in Parliament, in the party, even with civil society groups, mobilizing NGOs. I was in it full time. We had proposed 33% reservations from panchayats to Parliament, saying that's the only way we can ensure that women participate in decision making. Well, it was rejected. Totally. So there was not one literally to speak on our behalf. So Rajiv ji kept quiet and the meeting adjourned, and then later Rajiv ji called me and said, there's such hostility, I don't think we can push it through. But let us stoop to conquer. Let's start with the panchayats. Leave out assemblies and parliament, and because they have no stake in the panchayats, they have no seats there. So they won't object. So he said, start mobilizing. So from the grassroots, we have started having meeting of various groups, rural groups and agricultural and other things, started mobilizing women, and came the 2 constitution amendment bills which were drafted for urban local bodies and for panchayats, for reservations. Well, they came, as you know, came to Parliament. Lok Sabha, we had the numbers, we passed it, but when we took it to the Rajya Sabha, the opposition rejected it and we lost. Rajiv ji was very disappointed. That was the last bill literally before the elections. So he said, we'll come back after the elections. So it fell through. Then came the assassination, and it looked like everything was gone. But then came came VP Singh government, then came Gujral ji, then came Devegowda, first Devegowda, then. There were the succession of governments. But when PV Narasimha Rao ji came back to power again, we said in Rajiv ji's name, we must have these bills passed. So they came back again, and this time there was so much of emotional sort of feeling that nobody opposed it. And the bills went through, and the Panchayati Raj and the urban local bodies both got the reservation bills approved. That's where it started. And today we have about 17 lakh women elected to local bodies. And it has been a great success, no matter what somebody writes or somebody says. But the next step of moving forward had roadblocks. Various efforts were made, meetings held, marches, demands, everything. And the NGOs, the civil society, in educational universities, everybody joined to support it. But there was no way we could get everyone to agree. In fact, most political parties had it in their manifesto. We support the 33%. It was all on paper. And behind the scenes, all the leaders would get together and see how they could sabotage it, because nobody wanted it. Anyway, rest is history. It has come over and over again. It has been rejected. In one session, some women went and tore the bill when it was being introduced. There were various things that happened. me, it's a dream come true. And I don't care which government is passing it and who's taking credit for it. My point is, this was Rajiv Ji's dream. I was part of it.